In. Good morning. I'm Clint Myers on Troy Community Radio. Time on this Saturday morning for the Mayor's Report, and with me is Mayor Michael Beamish.
That is he. He is here.
Had another very spring-like week, a very productive week in Troy. As a matter of fact, Rivers Summit was yesterday at Hobart Arena.
Well, that is true, and we had a great turnout for a special religious Good Friday, and so we realized that. But still, it was an opportunity where we could really unveil the magic of what a river can be for a community. And this Riverway Summit included jurisdictions from Sydney all the way down to Hamilton. And Troy was very honored to be the host this year at the Hobart Arena, and I think people were impressed with that. But
what a great place to have it! Well, right here in town.
We had over 40 vendors there, so we had plenty of room for them to spread out. A lot of people got ideas. We had a lady from the Colorado Tourism that came in as our keynote speaker and talked again about all the techniques or the marketing tools that you can have at your just to have that can enhance the river and the quality of life that you could have. You know, we talk about economic development, and one of those tools in the toolbox for economic development is you have to have the amenities that will draw people into your region and your community. And so that was one of the marketing tools that she was talking about, is always keep recreation, culture, all those aspects. Don't forget them, because they're the things that gravitate young people especially.
They all work hand to hand.
Absolutely. And so we have the Great Miami River, and it was a wonderful opportunity for people to come and see what's out there and what could be there.
Well, all you have to do is really look around at the other communities that share the river with us, and you can see we're not the only ones taking advantage of the river. Well, as far as adding these extra features.
Almost every community along the river has seen the power of the river and what it can do. We can't compete with mountains, and we can't compete with oceans, so we have to look at ways to enhance the treasures that we do have. And of course, Great Miami River comes right down adjacent to our downtown, which is a beautiful place to be, which we talk a little bit about our downtown as well.
Well, that's for sure. Downtown is really looking spring-like now, because the fountain is for sure up and running.
Well, it's up and running, and it has this new system of lighting, and I was watching this past week people out there doing the gardening around the traffic circle, and it does. People get out and about. We're going to have the trees are on bud, and soon the flowers will be blooming, and it'll just be beautiful. And then we add all the activities that we have planned for the downtown. We'll have people coming in and enjoying the new parking arrangement, but also they're going to be moving around. So let me just make a caution because we've taken out the lights at the quadrants.
Right.
And so I just want to make, I've always been worried about safety. And when people are looking around, they may not be noticing, but I say stop before you walk, look both ways to see what's coming, and then cross safely across the street. And you'll get around, and most, I would say 98% of our cars are seeing and slowing down and stopping to allow pedestrians to cross. So I want to thank them for understanding what we're trying to do and creating a nice environment in downtown where people can just walk.
Well, when it works correctly, it works smoothly. And that means that everyone's following essentially the rules of and playing by the same rules.
Well, and you see it every day.
Yes.
You have the best vantage point to kind of be my monitor as well. So
the crow's nest, as I like to call it.
But spring is sprung, and now all we're waiting is for all the activities and events that'll take place in our Troy community, especially in our downtown.
Well, I love the new lights in the fountain, because that LED light just travels through the water and illuminates even the fountain itself that's spraying up in the air.
Well, I think it was a good addition
Oh,
to
for
our
sure.
downtown, and I hope people appreciate that as well.
It's going to look great during Strawberry Festival. Just all the things that we've got lined up that'll be down here. And to think about where we are now, it's the 20th of April already. And to think we're just a little over a month away from the Strawberry Festival.
Well, that's one of the things we'll talk about briefly with our council updates, because we had 5 resolutions to deal with and 5 ordinances that passed, and we went into executive session, and we had a public hearing. It was a busy night for Troy City Council.
Well, it sounds like it. What is our council update?
Well, let me just go through those 10 different pieces of legislation. First of all, we started with a public hearing, and this was one of the ordinances that we had, so we will be moving that piece of legislation. Since we did just have the public hearing, it'll have a committee reading, which is scheduled for the Economic Development Committee for Monday, April 22nd, and I believe they've said 5:30. You can check that in the paper, but I'm pretty sure they said 5:30.
Okay.
And that, that deals with a large area of 22 potential lots. And there is issues, both of the positive movement of that development, but also the residents that live around there, some of the concerns that they might have. So it should be a good meeting of that subcommittee of council. So we started with the public hearing. And then we moved to our resolutions. One of them is to bid the Harrison Atlantic Street and Water Street line replacement project, just infrastructure stuff. And that's not to exceed $750,000, and it passed council 8-0. We had one person missing on council, so it was an 8-0 vote. The next one really deals with Lincoln Community Center and using CDBG revolving loan money to help with some of the additional improvements to Lincoln Community Center. We all know that as a treasure of Troy, and so they increased the allotment that they had previously done from 120 to 180, counting as emergency because they want to get that project done while they got a chance. Again, past 8-0. Speaking of Lincoln Community Center, the bid authorization, we said first of all how we're going to use the money, and then we had to authorize that money, so that was kind of a 2-part resolution piece, 2 different pieces of legislation. We did have the paving program. Everybody asked, all these potholes and everything around, and we're very much aware. I have to say, sometimes paving projects are delayed because of the utility companies that want to come in and put lines down, and we don't want to have them do that and then have to tear it up again and put the paving, or vice versa. We do the paving,
Try
we
and
have
do
to tear
it
it up
all at one time.
Yes, we try to coordinate our efforts so that we're doing it at one shot. But they did with the new gas tax. There's hope that the local governments will receive some of that money to help with their street improvements. So in anticipation of that, we are increasing our allocation or budget money for paving to $1,280,000, and that'll allow us to do a lot of road work.
And I know that we have to wait times too, because over winter the hot asphalt companies are shut down.
I'm glad you mentioned that, and a lot of people wonder why we can't. We do some spot
Cold patching,
but you're right. We have to wait till the paving asphalt companies, start back up again. And,
a cold patch
weather,
is just a temporary patch until you can get it fixed correctly.
But we do have plans. We have been increasing our paving allotment every year, so we're very much aware, but we also have to work with our utility companies to make sure we just don't keep tearing up roads and then re-tearing. We're
Right.
going to work together on that. So that passed 8-0. The other one is the recycling. We talk about curbside recycling all the time. It's good for the environment. It's good for all of us. So we had to put out, because the contract is ending, so we had to put out bids for, and Rumpke was the only bidder this time.
Really?
Rumpke is the current, has the contract, and so we will enter into a 3-year contract with maybe a 2-year option for future, and so we had to do that as emergency because we want to continue the recycling program, and that passed 8-0. It's interesting, a lot of people say, well, why don't you bid it out? Well, we do, but you can't.
You can't make people come in.
Yes, they look at that and then they make their project decisions, and we only had one, and that was Rumpke. Then in the ordinances, as I mentioned earlier, we did have the public hearing on Peters Road. It'll be a rezoning from a county R zoning to a city R4 zoning, and that's going to be up for still some subcommittee and full council discussion and a vote. But again, I want to say that meeting, that public meeting, is going to be with the Economic Development Committee on Monday, April 22nd at 5:30. So they moved that to a third reading, so that moves on. We did talk about on Peters Road, speaking of Peters Road, we did have a final record plan, a PD for a store and locker.
Oh, okay. Store and lock.
And there was no concerns with that, so that moved on 8-0. We did, with Duke Park. Everybody talks about Duke Park, and we've extended the land that we own now for past going north from Duke Park. Well, there's a farmhouse and a barn that we thought we could use, but after we started to look into it and look at what we needed to do, we decided that could be surplus. So we are going to put that out for a public, we don't see a public purpose for surplus, and so we're going to authorize for sale of that. Just now, I want to be clear, we're not talking about the whole area of acreage.
Just the house and the barn.
Just the house and the barn that's next to each other in that small area. I think it's maybe 1.4 acres. So
would be a great place for someone to live, just right at the edge of town, next to the park.
And we still have room to use that area for parkland in different ways. Also, we've just determined that if we sell that property, we'll keep the money that we make and put it back into the park.
Okay.
So it'll stay in that area and be used in that way. You mentioned Strawberry Festival coming up, first weekend in June. Well, to get that all done, you have to have a contract, and so we did approve the agreement for the 2019 Troy Strawberry Festival. So you're seeing basically the same footprint as last year. We may adjust some of the booths and organizations a little bit, but the same basic footprint will be the Troy Strawberry Festival.
It makes it so accessible to everyone when it's downtown.
Well, and everybody understands it's for nonprofits, it's for helping other organizations with their mission, but it passed 8-0 as well. And then finally, we looked at a lease agreement with our Community Improvement Corp, CIC is what it's shortened for, in regards to Lincoln Community Center. That's kind of an understanding who owns, and Lincoln Community Center has some great vision for what they'd like to see happen with Lincoln Community Center. This will allow them to move forward with that project. Again, had the support of Council 8-0. Boy, that was a lot of stuff.
That was a lot of stuff.
That we talked about, and it's still going to continue. Discussion on the public hearing that we had last Monday.
Now, we were talking just before we started the show. There was some new equipment that we've got or we're getting for the fire department.
Well, we haven't got it yet, but we sort of have. This is all dealing with personal thermal imaging cameras for firefighters. Now, it does a dual purpose. This is like an extra layer of protection, not only for the firefighters because it's handheld and you can see what you're going into, but also for victims. It will allow a quicker access there. Now, we do have. It won't replace the 4 current heavy-duty cameras that are thermal imaging cameras that we have on our trucks. So we still can use those to get a broad picture of what we're dealing with when they have a fire.
And those will show them where the true hot spots are.
Yes, and also if there's a victim.
Okay, gotcha.
It'll pick out. But this all came to light in April 1st. Tom Kendall was presiding as President Pro Tem, and he introduced or proposed that we take a look at these. He evidently did some research and saw that there's a possibility of these smaller personal thermal imaging cameras, and he asked if we look at it, and so I took it upon myself. Safety is big, you know that.
Absolutely.
And so I talked to the Chief Simmons, and I talked to Patrick Titterington, our Public Service and Safety Director, about what is the possibilities. Would they be used? Could they be used? Are they needed? And anything that adds that extra layer, and it's the newest technology, which I think is, and it's portable. So all those factors, we came to an understanding, and relatively inexpensive. I mean, we can, I think for under $6,000, we're planning to get 8 of them, and that
nice.
will allow us access firefighters as well as the operation chief.
Well, certainly the firefighters, our first responders would be the folks that we want to make sure that we have the latest technology in their hands. So
I want to thank, these are the ideas that come forward from time to time from different individuals. And so I want to thank Mr. Kendall for making that possible and then letting us follow up on it. And we saw it as a good purchase. So yes, we're authorizing that purchase. So soon our firefighters will have that piece of equipment to add to their arsenal that would fight fires and to assist victims.
Very nice. Now, next week, you're going to bring in a couple folks. We've been talking about this since spring, and everyone's chomping at the bit to get out and do a little golfing, that the temperatures come up. It's a little bit warmer. But folks are going to be anxious to get back into the clubhouse.
Well, you're right. With Tiger Woods winning the Masters, that enhanced the excitement of golf in the area. And, we all know that we've been doing some renovations with Miami Shores. So next week, I hope people will tune in, because I'm going to ask our golf pro, Kyler Boer, and also our management analyst, Aubrey Hale, to be a part of the program, and they can share updates with the Miami Shores, where we are, what we're planning, some of the events, and the new look of Miami Shores. So that'll be a great program if you're an outdoors person and a golfer. Even if you're not, just to take out and see the renovations that's taking place.
You might want to go over and sit at the clubhouse, maybe
the shoreline.
Yeah, the shoreline.
They've named it now the shoreline. So yes, sure, it'll be open. But I'll let Kyler share a little bit about his excitement about the shores, and Aubrey will add, I'm sure, to that. So we're looking forward to that program next week.
All right. Well, we look forward to sitting down talking with them next week. Find out what's happening.
Clint, could I just say one thing? Because this came up as one of the comments at our council meeting. I almost forgot to say this about leaf pickup. And, we do this as a service in the fall when the leaves really. And this past year, we've extended that period. If you remember,
yes.
We waited until almost snow to pick up leaves. But now, with the spring cleanup behind us now, and many people did rake out the leaves around their house and things, there's two ways that they can dispose of those. We have believe it or not, no biodegradable bags in City Hall. They're all gone. So you would have to go to a local business and purchase biodegradable bags, but you can take your leaves, put them into those, and put them out with your trash and recycling, and they will pick those up. I, for one, did that last week in spring cleanup week.
Well, even if you
out.
did rake, you still got some that
They're just
blew in.
stragglers.
There's stragglers, or they were up underneath a bush, and
they move around
Yes.
from neighborhood to neighborhood. But anyway, I would just offer, because that was a concern, why can't we, remember we have to transfer that leaf equipment into snow plows and things, and to have to go back and do that requires us to a whole lot of maintenance. So I would just ask everybody, I appreciate people wanting to pick up and clean up their yards and all that. Don't get me wrong, I think it's great, but we have a couple ways to take care of that, and the one is the get a biodegradable trash bag and put those leaves in, put it out on trash and recycling day. They'll come by and get those and dispose of it.
I'm sure that they could still get those at a true value.
I'm sure all the businesses that are like Lowe's and Ace and
for
Value,
sure.
All those would be able to have those available. But I will say that City Hall is not the place to go because we're sold out.
Or you can load them up in the back of your truck and take them to the Dye Mill Road facility.
I was just saying that's the second option everybody has. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday they're open till 7 o'clock, from 11 to 7, and on Saturday for those of us 9 to 3. So we do have a couple days for cleanup and close Wednesday and Sunday, but you can take those out there yourselves as you have availability to do that. So there are two ways to still, and also I was waiting for you to say this, bundle in your sticks.
Oh yes, make sure that they're manageable.
They'll come by, they will pick those up. So there's still the service of pickup. It's just we need some extra help because of the equipment and transferring the equipment now. And now we're doing more street maintenance as we talked about, paving, fixing potholes, and all of those things. So we're seasonal. Same people doing it, same equipment, but we have to transfer that kind of equipment from leaf to snow, to maintenance.
Essentially, it's kind of like the build-a-truck program.
There you go.
You've got the truck and you turn it into the snow plow, and then when the snow's gone, you turn it into the road maintenance vehicle. And as we get towards fall, that's when it gets transferred over and turns into the leaf pickup vehicle.
Don't get me wrong, I appreciated the person who came up and was suggesting that maybe we can have another leaf pickup in the spring. I just want people to understand, the seasonal, same equipment, same people having to do different things via the season. But I do appreciate the idea, and I think that might be a good couple suggestions.
I have the perfect spring leaf pickup program, and that would either be your kids or the grandkids.
Well, that would be helpful, wouldn't it?
That would be. And if you don't have a truck to load them into to go out to the Dye Mill Road facility, keep in mind everybody has that friend that's got the truck that'll help you out.
That's good suggestion too.
Neighbors helping neighbors.
Thanks.
All right, Mayor, thank you very much for being in this morning. This has been the Mayor's Report with Mayor Michael Beamish. Saturday morning programming is brought to you by Outlook Financial. I'm Clint Myers on 107.1 WTJN.